one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much or how you doing with admit to me.
When did winning not become the main thing? I always say keep the main thing, where, you know, winning is the only thing that truly matters.
I kept saying like, bro, so mad, bro. I ain't gonna be all right.
Welcome to No Football Sundays on Saints World. I think this is the second Sunday in a row without football. I believe it is. And we're here to talk about it. So, last year, when the football season ended, I had something on my ear just now. I had like I had a hood on, but I also had, the hood got like, it's hard to explain, bro. The hood is insulated. It's got shit in the hood to protect your ears. I could not hear what I was saying just now. I can hear what I am saying now. I hope everybody is having a dope day, dope afternoon, dope night, whichever point in time you are listening to this. I am not rushing through that because I don't mean it. I'm rushing through it because there's other things to say. And when you say some of the same things every episode, you just know to get that out of the way. But I do hope everybody is having a dope day. But no football Sundays. We got to find a way to fill the gaps. We got to find a way to keep it going. Last year I just stopped recording, but it was because I had a lot of things going on. I got a lot of things going on this year also. Hopefully this is a strong year for me. Started off a little rocky, but that's okay. That's okay. We keep it going. It's going to get better. I hope everybody's year is going the way they planned it. And if it isn't, keep it going. It's going to get better. Listen. What is the goal of No Football Sundays? Well, it's to hopefully get through all 32 NFL teams and talk about them, what they did this season, how they can improve, the things they did wrong, yada, yada, yada. We could trail off the path at times. I could start just talking about random shit. But hopefully, the goal is to talk about every single NFL team. Now, we're going to start with the AFC North because that's the division. That's the division that my favorite team plays in. And we're going to start off with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we may end up analyzing other teams throughout the episode. Every team, however, will get their own episode. So hopefully, by the end of it, all 32 teams will be covered. Now, I want to start off by talking about the Baltimore Ravens. And the question that surrounds the Baltimore Ravens is, if not now, when? When will they get over that hump? Every year is, they're going to get over it this year. They don't get over it. They the best team this year. They don't get over it. It's always when. And then the question becomes, how often or how many times will the Baltimore Ravens shoot themselves in the foot before they finally get it right? Now, it would be very easy to chalk it up to, the Baltimore Ravens just beat themselves, they just make mistakes that they don't make. That would be easy, but then the show would be a couple minutes, and that's not what we're looking for. So let's break it down, because it's more to me than just the Baltimore Ravens beating themselves. And we'll get to the aspects of them beating themselves in a couple, but I don't even want to start from the aspect or from the standpoint of the Baltimore Ravens continue to beat themselves. I want to bring in a different standpoint, because so many people already look at the Ravens and say it's a team that continue to beat themselves. I love how Bill Belichick break down the Ravens. He is absolutely correct, but that's what we know. Let's talk about some of the other things that you may not pay as much attention to, that you may think is a good thing, but it may not truly be as good as it is perceived to be. So one of the first things when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens that I personally believe is holding them back, other than beating themselves, is the pass rush. I've been very consistent talking about the Ravens over the last couple of years because that's the team that I root for. But I have said it. I do not believe that the Baltimore Ravens have had a legitimate pass rusher since Terrell Suggs. What do you mean by they haven't had a pass rusher, Saint? They done had guys who had double digits. I understand all of that. Here's the problem. And the best way I can simplify this and dumb it down for you is go look at Terrell Suggs' numbers in big games. The big games against the Steelers, the big games in the playoffs, the AFC championship games. Go look at Terrell Suggs when you needed a bit, anytime it was a big spot and you needed a big play, go look at Terrell Suggs. And on the flip side, in those big playoff games, in the big games in the season, in the big moments, show me the plays where the pass rushers on the Ravens consistently got home and forced chaos. Because I can show you Myles Garrett. I can show you TJ Watt. I can show you Nick Bosa. I can show you Danielle Hunter. I can show you Nick Anderson. Not Nick Anderson. I can show you, it is Nick Anderson. Will Anderson. I can show you Jalen Carter. I can show you so many high-level pass rushers who are not just great because of scheme or because of system. If anything, the only reason they are not truly putting up ungodly numbers is because they are consistently double-teamed, triple-teamed, chipped. They don't get one-on-ones. Those guys create chaos. Look at Jalen Carter throughout the playoffs. Anytime they did not double team Jalen Carter, he was a problem. It's not always about getting home for a sack, but on big downs, Jalen Carter's presence was felt. He threw the quarterback off of his rhythm. He took him out of his path. He created chaos in the pocket. And because sometimes he didn't get home, other guys got there because of the chaos that he created. Go look at Will Anderson. Go look at TJ Watt. TJ Watt, to me, is the clutchest defensive player in the league. When the Steelers need a stop, when they need chaos to be created in order to get back into a game, TJ Watt makes a play. Tell me the player on the Ravens that has done that, the pass rusher, consistently for the Ravens since Terrell Suggs has left the Ravens. You can't. The best pass rushers the Ravens have had since Terrell Suggs is probably Kyle Van Noy. And as good as Kyle Van Noy is, you want Kyle Van Noy to be your second best pass rusher, probably your third. Because as good as Kyle Van Noy is, he is not Terrell Suggs. He is not any of those pass rushers that I just named. He is not routinely in big games and big moments and big spots made those plays, created that chaos. And Kyle Van Noy to me is a good player. I would not let him go if I were the Ravens. However, I would not be content with him being my best pass rusher. Kyle Van Noy is in his upper 30s now, I believe, mid 30s. Odafe just got his first double-digit sack season. Some of the dudes that the Ravens drafted to be the big sack guys haven't even touched the field consistently. So that is a spot in which the Ravens have failed. I don't understand how a team that is so good at identifying defensive talent has failed for years now at replacing the pass rusher, at getting a ex pass rusher, the guy that when you go and see the problem with the Ravens right now is when you go into a game, you don't mark anybody. Like, see, and I don't want this to sound crazy because this is going to sound crazy what I'm finna say, but I just want you to understand what I'm finna say. An offense obviously says, okay, they got Roquan Smith. They have Kyle Hamilton. However, it's not the same as if they say, okay, they have Myles Garrett. We got to figure every way out. We got to do everything we can to make sure he does not wreck this game. For the most part, Roquan Smith is not wrecking a game in the way that a pass rusher can wreck a game. Going into every game, I do not believe that any team has said to themselves, okay, this pass rush on the Ravens, if we don't stop him, we lose this game. I don't believe that. For the last couple years, the best parts of the Ravens have been either the linebacking core or really the secondary, which is why it's so obvious when the Ravens defense has been bad over the last couple years. Anytime the Ravens defense has been bad, we notice it quickly because the best part of the Ravens defense since Terrell Suggs and those dudes left has been the secondary. And I know some people say, well, what about PQ? Over the last couple of shows, from the beginning of me making this YouTube channel, I have been very clear that I did not think Patrick Queen was a number one middle linebacker. I thought his best year was last year beside Roquan Smith, but I thought that had a lot to do with Roquan Smith and Mike McDonald, putting him in perfect position to use his speed. Another thing that he had to realize is how to use his speed, because a lot of times he just ran past the like Patrick Queen before his second year with Roquan was crazy. Like, that's some of the craziest middle linebacker footage I have ever seen. And this nigga was drafted in the first round. So it's always weird when I look at, like, obviously every first round player does not hit. But it was so weird watching Patrick Queen because it was like, yo, if this nigga just slowed down and if he put on some weight, he would be a phenomenal. But it was just so many parts of his game year by year that started to open up. Like, he's not great in pass coverage. He's really not that great in the run coverage. But then I kept saying, like, if they turned him into a pass rusher and said just go after the quarterback, yo, Patrick Queen would probably be such a like. I think the fundamental part of it, I think really the problem with Patrick Queen playing middle linebacker is the fundamentals. He just is not a great fundamental player when it comes to the fundamentals that you need to play middle linebacker. From what I've seen of all the great middle linebackers, or even the guys who consistent, they might not be as great as the Patrick Queens, the Ray Lewises, and the Luke Kuechly's and guys like that, but they are great middle linebackers. The Demario Davises of the world. I'm thinking of a dude specific. I know we got the Fred Warners and the CJ Mosley and all them, but it was another dude who I was thinking of, and I really wanted to give him his credit, but I cannot think of his name for the life of me. And I see him in my head, but I cannot put a name to him. But all those secondary linebackers and whatnot, and I'm not saying any of those dudes who I just called second aren't Hall of Famers in the future, but the first dudes I named is clear Hall of Famers. But the thing, if you look at all of those linebackers, they don't lack the fundamentals that make you a great middle linebacker. They just have all the other things that make you an exceptional linebacker. So they might be unbelievable at recognizing plays. They might be unbelievable athletics. Like, they might be athletically unbelievable. That's the thing that hits me. That's the thing that worries me about Patrick Queen. That always worried me about Patrick Queen, because he one of the fastest middle linebackers I done ever seen. Like, that nigga is fast. Like, go look at Patrick Queen when he first came into the league. That he is fast. I have never taken that away from Patrick Queen. To me, that is by far his best asset. Now, go look at guys like Navarro Bowman and Patrick Queen, because they were fast. But look at all the other things they were able to do. Ray Lewis when he was young was fast. There's a lot of middle linebackers who are fast, but Patrick Queen was generationally fast, in my opinion. I don't want to say generationally fast, but he was fast. He was one of the faster middle linebackers I had ever seen. As far as when you see him play, you can see how much faster he is than an average linebacker or even a fast linebacker. The problem is everything else fundamentally tackling wasn't great. His tackling form wasn't great. His the angles at which he attacked weren't great. The fact that he would run past players who were getting the ball like on screens or it was just so many different things that Patrick Queen lacked that I always thought to myself, if you just move him to to outside linebacker and allow him to pass rush for the majority of the game, you could get so much more out of Patrick Queen. But maybe he don't want to move to outside linebacker. All I know is at this point in Patrick Queen's career, I just feel like it's just so much more bad tape at him playing that position than it is good tape, because it was a rough year for him in Pittsburgh, to be honest. And I understand in Pittsburgh it's a rough spot for him to be a outside linebacker because you got Alex Hightower, you got TJ Watt. So it's impossible for him to play that outside position in Pittsburgh. He has to be the middle linebacker. But I don't know, maybe they just turn him into one of those pass rushing middle linebackers. I just think that really hurts you. I don't think that I'll get to Pittsburgh. See, this is not a Pittsburgh show. This was me too. Because Pittsburgh fans, I'll just give you this snippet though on something I'm going to talk about when I get to the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the things that I truly do think hurts the Pittsburgh Steelers defense down the stretch of seasons, or specifically last season, was when people started to realize how to beat Pittsburgh's defense. Everybody started to realize how to beat it. Because usually when you say, oh, people learn how to beat it, it's just one or two teams can implement that game. Everybody started to learn how to attack Pittsburgh defense. Every single team they played knew how to attack that defense. And one of the problems I think you have with Pittsburgh is you went out and got Patrick Queen. And I truly believe the Steelers said we can fix him, and that speed is something that will come in handy. And I still to this day believe if somebody can figure out how to get Patrick Queen, I don't believe Patrick Queen is a middle linebacker. I truly believe that after seeing Patrick Queen play that position for this many years in the NFL now, because this ain't college. I think that's what niggas keep forgetting. That size middle linebacker could have worked in college with that speed, and because you're not playing against pros every year and you have a stacked LSU team. This is not that in the NFL, bro. It's just not. I done seen Patrick Queen get run over by by running backs, receivers, and stiff arm and shit by quarterbacks far too many times. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I think the Steelers gonna end up having to either trade him or let him walk also, because I just don't think Patrick Queen fits the Steelers. The Steelers need a coverage linebacker. You already have two great pass rushers on your outside, playing the left and the right outside linebacking positions. You don't need a pass rushing middle linebacker. What you need is linebackers who can cover. That's not Patrick Queen. But we'll get to the Steelers when we get to them. But nonetheless, back to the Ravens. The Ravens defense, when it's bad, is usually because the secondary has plummeted. Because I don't think that the Ravens have had really a great linebacking pass rushing core over like when I think about the pass rushers, if I were to say, because my pass for the Ravens would be, well, look at some of the units they done put together. Well, to me, it's really more so been, look at what Mike McDonald and some of these defensive coordinators can get out of them. Because when you look at a defensive line that was truly talent and scheme, that's like the New York Giants that won the Super Bowl when they had Nnamdi Asomugha. Not Nnamdi Asomugha. I'm tripping. He a cornerback. When they had Usa Humaniura, Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck, who the other dude? What's my man? And Jason Pierre-Paul. Or this Eagles when they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, or when they won it this year, with all of the talent that the Eagles had, they actually had star talent, and like the Eagles just have a lot of talent. The Eagles have the star talent, the next level talent that's under the star talent, and the level that's under that talent. And they can rotate it, and they have great defensive scheme. That's not the Ravens. To me, the Ravens have been more so scheme than necessarily player greatness. Because now, Nnamdi Madubuike, I actually do think he is a great defensive tackle. Like he gets doubled and tripled a lot. He is the one person on that defensive line who I am not including in all of this. But everybody else, and the outside pass rushers, the linebackers, not good enough. It's just not good enough. And that has hurt the Ravens. Like, people can continue to say the Ravens hurt themselves. Go throughout the playoffs. Go look at how many times the Ravens took the ball away from the opposing team, where they truly caused chaos and took the ball away from the other team. They created more opportunities or extra opportunities for the Ravens offense. And I understand that's not something, well, no. Some people will say, well, Saint, that's not something you can rely on. Go look at most, if not every single Super Bowl team over the last couple years. Go look at their defenses in the playoffs. They create opportunities and take away the ball. I say it over and over again. Having a great defense does not matter. Having a defense that plays great in big spots does. When you have a defense that can go take the ball away in the playoffs, they might not have been a team that could take the ball away in the regular season. But when the playoffs start and they can turn the ball, see, that's my problem with the Ravens. We keep talking about these pass rush numbers that they have as a team, but when you go look at it individually, who is their pass rusher that can create havoc, who can go outside of the plays, who they have to game plan for? That is not Kyle Van Noy, but he is the one with the most sacks on the team. He would be the guy who you would say is the best pass rusher on the Ravens. Do you see what I'm saying? Having your ex be Kyle Van Noy is not the same as Cleveland's ex being Myles Garrett. Having your ex be Kyle Van Noy is not the same as the Steelers' ex being TJ Watt. Your ex being Kyle Van Noy is not the same as the Cleveland Browns' ex being Trey Hendrickson. That is a problem for the Ravens, and I don't understand how See, this is one of my problems with sports media. I guess it's because they feel like everything, they can only talk about these teams for a certain amount of minutes, but even though they dedicate a lot of time to other teams. I don't understand how we don't talk about key things like this. The Ravens haven't had an ex-pass rusher for God knows how long, since Terrell Suggs. That's how I just dumb it down. And you done drafted different guys. You done missed on all of those guys, essentially. I understand if you want to say, well, Odafe just had a 10-sack season, so he can't be a bust. I'm not calling him a bust, but he definitely is not the pass rusher that you imagined he would be for you when you drafted him. He hasn't moved the needle. He is not a game wrecker for you on a consistent basis. He is not a guy that other teams come into the game saying we have to figure out. We have to avert all of our resources to stopping this player. That's not Odafe Owe. That's not a single player on the Ravens defense not probably named Kyle Hamilton, and he's not a pass rusher. That's a problem. One of the reasons that the team struggled in the beginning is because you tried to use Kyle Van Noy. You tried to use Kyle Hamilton as a pass rusher, linebacker type of hybrid. And while he is great at those things, you don't want to abuse that like they did in the beginning of the season, simply because you lack talent in other places and you tried to fill it by using Kyle Hamilton that way. That's why I believe the Ravens have to try to. You see, the reason that this is a problem, and this is the number one problem to me, is because they could have fixed it by now. And I don't want to hear that they couldn't have, because the Eagles done made multiple trades to go get pass rushers, whether it be a trade for a pass rusher or a trade to get up in a draft to get a pass rusher. Cleveland drafted a pass rusher. The Browns, and they also signed him. The Bengals signed Trey Hendrickson. The Steelers drafted and traded for pass rushers. Like, to me, one of the biggest, the Ravens traded for a receiver they did not need at the trade deadline. The Steelers traded for an extra pass rusher they didn't need at the time. Well, to me, you can never not need too many pass rushers, but they were not in need of a pass rusher. The Ravens were, and they went out and got a receiver, a small receiver at that they already had. The Ravens, to me, have to fix this pass rusher problem. They have to go get a ex-pass rusher on the defensive side of the ball. That's one of the things that help a lot of defenses that aren't that great. A lot of the defenses that ain't that great in coverage They make up for it because they have great pass rushers on that team. Somehow, some way, they have those elite pass rushers who can just wreck a game for you. You can't have dudes cover for so long. You can't have quarterbacks be able to just march down the field because you don't have a pass rusher that can win. And you can't always rely on scheme, bro. I hate it when niggas... Yo, the greats always outplay a scheme. It just is what it is. I done seen some of the greatest defenses get walked down in the biggest games because they did not have actual elite pass rushers. They had players who were great because of schemes. You have to have guys who can wreak havoc. The Ravens don't. If I were Eric DeCosta, the GM for the Baltimore Ravens, I would do everything in my power to trade or go up in the draft to go get an elite pass rusher. I am not concerned with it's a lot of good pass rushers in this draft. No. I don't want one of those good ones. I need one of those top 2 pass rushers in this draft. To me, the Ravens have the confidence. They have the picks to go get it. They have players on their roster that they could clearly trade to go get it. The Ravens, to me, is, to be honest with you, sometimes philosophy just kills teams. They could be as good as they want to, but when they just will not budge off of certain things, that'll always be the killing factor. And if the Ravens don't decide, but see, because the Ravens' problem right now is they continue to believe that they can draft one of those next level pass rushers. And they clearly can't. Because they won't draft high enough in the draft, and one of them will not fall. It's not been shown time and time again. But they also will not go spend the money or the capital to either to trade for a top draft, for a top pass rusher like a Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons. They won't go trade for one. They also don't go sign the ones like my man over there, Hassan Reddick. They won't go make the trades for that type of pass rusher who is an elite pass rusher. So they won't do that. They won't go spend big on those type of pass rushers who are proven and elite. But they also won't trade up in the draft to go get the Will Andersons or the Jalen Carters. So you in a lose-lose. So you won't fold on either of those ideologies, and you're hurting your team because of that. And what's crazy to me is, as good as I think Meta BK is, you paid him. And he is not an elite pass rusher. Like, even at Meta BK's best, he is not an elite pass rusher like those guys that I just named. And some people say, well, he a defensive tackle. Aaron Donald was a defensive tackle. Elite pass rusher. So, to me, if the Ravens are going to truly help the defense, because one of the things that help the secondary is a pass rusher, an elite pass rusher. The fact that the Ravens have relied on the scheme over the last couple of years in a collective has been a problem. It has been, not only that, it's done shown every year that it just ain't good enough. As good as their defense has been in the playoffs, the thing that they have not been is a turnover defense. They have not created turnovers for their offense. Other defenses have. A lot of the defenses that have gotten to the Super Bowl have. Hell, the Eagles created turnovers in every single game they played in the playoffs, including the Super Bowl. Created multiple turnovers in the Super Bowl. We keep wanting to believe it is always just on the offense. And usually we believe that, or we choose to believe that because of the quarterbacks. But other niggas get paid to do a job too. The playoffs is when you want your defense to turn it up. That's when you want them to be solid enough to create the turnovers, to capitalize on little mistakes. I said this early in the season for the Ravens. One of the things that's going to kill them is that they don't capitalize on other teams' mistakes on defense. In the sense of defenses put passes out there that should be intercepted. The Ravens don't pick it off. Defenses make plays that should turn into turnovers. The Ravens don't force the turnover. Like the defense make plays that should result in negative yards. The Ravens don't get those negative yards. The Ravens back teams up and have them force deep third downs. The Ravens don't get them off the field on those deep third downs. Like, a lot of these problems could be averted if you had a fucking elite pass rusher. And the Ravens don't have that. And I don't understand one of the things that's always confused me about the Ravens is before you were paying Lamar Jackson, who were you paying that was making any type of difference on your team? And you took so long to pay Lamar. But now that you pay Lamar and you do pay Roquan, and I know Kyle Hamilton's going to have to get paid. What is stopping you from going and getting an either X receiver, because that's my next thing, or the X pass rusher? Because I think the X pass rusher is more important than the X receiver, which is why the X pass rusher is number one on my list. But I don't understand why. And to me, I truly believe the Ravens been paying the wrong niggas over the last couple of years. And I'm not saying niggas haven't deserved the money they've been getting, because I'm not here to tell you who deserve and don't deserve what they get paid. You deserve what you negotiate. What I'm here to say is they have not been paying the niggas who actually could change this team. Like, they went out and paid. So one of my problems was when they went out and paid Marcus Williams. I don't think that Marcus Williams was a bad player when they signed him. He ain't the same player now. But the Ravens didn't need that nigga when they signed him. They needed to help Lamar Jackson. That nigga was on a rookie contract. They did not at any point in time throughout Lamar Jackson's contract bring in a high-level pass rusher or a high-level receiver that demanded top-of-the-market money. They never did it. But go look at these other teams. Jalen Hurts on his rookie deal, they brought in everything. They still bringing in everything. I believe the thing that the Ravens are fighting against is they are cheap. And people keep saying the Ravens ain't cheap. The Ravens are cheap compared to the other top teams. Like, I don't. Look at what the Lions is doing. Look at what and then if you don't want to say the Ravens is cheap, I think it's a mixture of being cheap and no longer hitting in the draft the way that they used to hit. Because look at how the Lions is hitting in the draft. Now, I know the Lions was drafting higher than the Ravens, but they done hit in so many different picks in the draft. A lot of the Lions team is because they either hit in the draft or they made great trades. Go look at a lot of those teams in the NFC. That's great drafting or great trading or just straight up. And then in the AFC, it's usually great signing. Sometimes it's great drafting. But a lot of times they make a lot of great signings in the AFC for these top levels. Look at the Texans. The Texans made a lot of great moves. Niggas just got hurt. The Ravens, for some reason, refused to make these big level moves. Stephon Diggs had 1 year left on his contract, bro. You didn't want to go get that nigga for 1 year to try to go chase a championship with Lamar Jackson. I understand he tore his ACL or his Achilles, but we didn't know that was going to happen. But you went out and did that shit with Odell. And I said the year that they went and signed Odell, that don't make sense. He 2 years removed from playing. You won't go trade for DeAndre Hopkins, who coming off an 1,000-yard season after missing a couple games, but you'll go sign Odell. And I'm still saying, like, DeAndre was just in the Super Bowl. Like, what are we doing? I'm not here to tell you that Eric DeCosta is a terrible GM. What I'm here to tell you is the talent evaluators or the team evaluators or the niggas who's supposed to understand talent are not doing their jobs. That is very clear to me when I look at how they team. To me, one of the biggest weaknesses for a team and one of the greatest strengths of a team is having a generational player. It will always hurt you because if you don't evolve, because the Ravens have let their stupid old philosophies fuck them in ways that you can't even imagine. They held on to Greg Roman for far too long. That fucked them because Lamar Jackson was clearly past Greg Roman. Could you imagine where he would be right now if he had, how do I always forget this? Todd Monken, 2 years earlier or earlier. Like, I understand divine time and everything comes, God make it. I get all that. But the Ravens have done so many things that have, to me, it's not just, oh, the players haven't shown up or the players make mistakes. It's so many different things when you look at the Ravens that have prevented them from winning the ultimate prize. So, after the X pass rusher, you go to the X receiver. Now, the X receiver kind of slid down on my list from first because it used to be number one. it's not number one now because of what Zay Flowers has become, what Rashad Bateman did last year, what what's my man name? Zay, what is Isaiah Likely, what he is. So it's not really, I'm not gonna say that they still need that X. But I do believe that they are more than capable right now of going out and winning a Super Bowl with the talent they have on the offensive side of the ball. I do not think that the offensive talent is the true problem with this team, because with Derrick Henry, finally a big level signing that I've been waiting for them to make. Because I always said, bro, you keep signing players that Lamar can make better, but you refuse to sign players that can help make Lamar better. Derrick Henry is the type of player that makes Lamar better. So you have him. Justice Hill is a dog. I love Justice Hill. His everything that he is able to do on a football field, that collection of Ravens helped the Ravens greatly. However, go look at, and see, this is a unique thing because, see, if you watch the Ravens, they pass just fine this year. Like Rashad Bateman's improvements clearly helped the Ravens a great deal this year. However, I don't understand. I really don't. Why you don't go out and get a big body receiver like a AJ Brown, like a T Higgins. Like, I know you're not going to go sign one of those guys because of what they would cost you. And I would rather that money be put in a pass. I think it would be smarter to put that type of money in a pass rusher. However, not having that big body, and I know Isaiah Likely is damn near a receiver playing tight end. I get all of that. Not having that big body dude who can go win those 50-50s. To me, not having that element in this offense is a thing that will always hurt this offense. Because if you had that element, they can't double Zay. They can't double Likely. They can't call these weird ass plays to try to stop Lamar and Derrick Henry by stacking the box and doing all this weird shit. To me, having that 50-50 like the Anquan Boldens of the world. Like, I think those receivers exist, and I'm going to continue to say it. It is one receiver who I would take right now over a pass rusher. Like, if I were the Ravens, if it were possible to go get this receiver right now, he would be the price of not getting that pass rusher. And that would be DK Metcalf. If you could go get a receiver like DK that could go up and win his 50-50s, who is also fast, he can run his route. DK Metcalf's a top tier receiver. But what I like about DK Metcalf is he's a big body receiver. He's not short. He's not small. He's not trying to win just because of his speed. He's not trying to win because he's perfect on every route. He can just body you. He can just straight up man you up and beat you just like AJ Brown. He can lose because you right there in his pocket and still win. That's what the Ravens haven't had. Now they have that in Isaiah Likely. But you need that for that outside presence also. Because, see, I love Rashad Bateman, but Rashad Bateman wasn't necessarily winning one-on-ones last year. Rashad Bateman is just a great route runner. I couldn't even imagine Rashad Bateman was as good a route runner as he was until last year. But he is a phenomenal route runner. What happened when they call plays that actually fuck it up and he can't get to the route sometimes, or when he don't run the route the way you want it to be ran? You still need a guy like AJ Brown, a guy like who can go up and take. They don't have to be perfect. You don't have to throw a perfect pass. They still got you. I think the Ravens are lacking that. And until they figure, I don't think that's something that will stop them or prevent them from winning the Super Bowl. I really think they need a pass rusher. Like, to me, the pass rusher is so important. That could legitimately change so many things about this team. Now, the Ravens offense can just, see, this is the thing. I don't think that an offense at this moment can be so much better than, and that they can win a Super Bowl. So put it like this. The Ravens offense over the last 2 years has been phenomenal. They ain't won a Super Bowl. That Broncos offense with Peyton Manning was phenomenal. They didn't win a Super Bowl. It wasn't until those teams got great defenses that they eventually won the Super Bowls. It's not the look at this Chiefs. The offense haven't been high flying when they've been winning those Super Bowls the last couple of years. Look at the Eagles. The Eagles offense was phenomenal, but look at what the defense was doing. So to me, I don't care how many great things that the Ravens do offensively. They can average 60 points a game. Eventually, when the playoffs roll around, if they don't have that pass rusher, because they're eventually going to come down to earth. The laws of average is always average out, and they will come down to earth, and they will play a team that can put up points, and they're going to be better than that team, but they won't have the pass rusher that other team have, and that will make a difference. So, while I do believe that the X receiver is very important for the Ravens, that pass rusher, man, I cannot emphasize enough how important that pass rusher is. Now, the Ravens are in an interesting offseason. You got all this stuff with Justin Tucker. Boy. Not looking good for him. I think it's safe to say that the Ravens are in the market for a kicker. And you want to know what's crazy? They said that all this stuff had came out, like it didn't come out earlier. But Justin Tucker knew about this for basically all season, I guess. And they showing tweets where a lot of people, this is crazy. I just want to put that out there. This shit is crazy. Bro, it's tweets from years ago that basically was insinuating that Justin Tucker was wilding at these massage therapists, at these massage parlors or whatever you call them. And then you look at how shitty he was kicking this year, how bad he played this year. It was by far his worst year of his career. And you telling me he didn't have all that shit in the back of his head? Listen, man, I'm human. When something, I don't want to say something like that, but when some fuck shit that I done is consequences is looming, oh man, it throw everything off. It throw my whole shit off. You know what I'm saying? It's got to. That's why, I don't want to assume anybody is guilty or anything like that, but it's just hard for me. I said the same thing about Watson. It's hard to believe that this many women just come together and say, let's all lie on Justin Tucker. I'm not telling you it's impossible for something like that to happen. But boy, the likelihood of something like that happening. Well, I think I read it was like 18 or 17 women that done come forward. That's a lot of supposed liars, Justin Tucker. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to know how I feel, I think the Ravens are looking for a new kicker. I don't want to cast. I understand everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Unless it's Twitter, then you are guilty until you're probably guilty even after you've been proven innocent. But I don't know, man. I repeat, like I said about the Watson thing. Hard for me to believe that many. So that many women came together, corroborated basically the same story. All of them remembered said story, remembered all these details that they corroborated, and they all went to. You want to know something that's interesting about this case also? Unless I just haven't read this part of the case yet, I haven't read the part where these women is like looking for money. I think the Ravens looking for a new kicker, man. I think the Ravens are looking for a new kicker. This should send a message. I don't care if you're the fucking quarterback or the fucking kicker. Don't be fucking weird to humans, bro. If you are a grown man, don't be a fucking weirdo to these women trying to do a job just because you have money. Freaky ass niggas. Jesus. But It's been an eventful offseason for the Ravens. Some people done got into some DUI problems. It's been a freaky ass. It's been an interesting offseason for the Ravens. But back to the things that matter. The Ravens really have a good roster. They really do. Like I said, the biggest things to me, they do need to bring back Ronnie Staley. I saw that. I was looking at the free agents to be for the Ravens. I don't know who they would feel is more important in signing than Ronnie Staley. However, I do understand that nigga could get offered something outrageous in the free agent market, and you would have no choice but to let him walk. I could see how that could be a thing. I just don't like the Ravens. I really don't like them trying to makeshift this offensive line, man, because I think that this offensive line still needs to get better at pass blocking. I think they're a great run blocking offensive line, but it's times where they just they struggle at pass protection. And that is something that I done said for the last couple years. They do not have a line to me that is like the Eagles. The Eagles are great at pass and run protection. That is not the Ravens. Now, they are not terrible at pass protection, but they could be so much better. So much better. So that would probably be my third thing. But to me, the biggest thing is the Ravens need a pass rusher and the Ravens need an X receiver. A pass rusher more than anything who can create chaos. That's why if I was the Ravens, I'd do everything in my power to try to get Myles Garrett. They clearly not going to get Lamar Jackson. But I don't know who else on this team that I would say, like, obviously you're not trading Kyle Hamilton, you're not trading Lamar Jackson. I don't think you would trade Roquan Smith, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. The Ravens, the only reason you would try not to trade a Roquan Smith if you the Ravens, because your pass rushing core, your linebacking core is so bad. Like, if you're not a Raven fan, you probably couldn't name another linebacker on the Ravens other than Roquan. Because the Ravens don't really have a good linebacking core. I've been saying it for the last, after Patrick Queen left, and I still think it was the right decision to let Patrick Queen walk. Because keeping Patrick Queen really wasn't going to do shit for you in the long run. But they do eventually have to restart. The Ravens at some point in time need to rebuild this linebacking core. They need to rebuild the pass rush and the linebacking core, to be honest with you. I don't know why they haven't at this point. They keep hanging on to these picks that they drafted years ago, praying that they turn into, bro, the great players don't take this long. You know they great quick. They do not need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, yo. We knew Micah was great immediately. We knew how, bro, these great play. See, that's the thing. I think the Ravens need to swing for the fences. I think they need to go trade for Micah Parsons. That's a player that the Ravens would not mind trading for. They would not mind paying him either. Which is kind of what bothers me, is that they don't mind paying niggas like that, but they mind paying the X type of receivers that's like that. Nonetheless, I think they need to go get a Micah Parsons type of player. I think that's exactly the nigga they need to trade for. Now, I know some people say, well, that's outrageous. Dallas would never trade for him. Bro, Dallas has not gotten close to a Super Bowl, and they done had Micah for the last 3-4 years. What's paying him more money going to do for you? Nothing. The Dallas Cowboys need to think about what they can get for Micah, and I do believe that the Ravens, now see, I understand some niggas would be like, well, you can't trade Micah to the Ravens because they're never going to draft high enough to give you a great draft pick. You shouldn't be worried about the Ravens getting you a high draft pick. You should be worried about being trash so you can get a high enough draft pick. Not to mention, you should be worried about everything you can get from the Ravens. I believe right now, Micah Parsons could get you Mark Andrews. If you trade for Mark Andrews, you're probably going to extend him. Anybody that's trading for Mark Andrews is more than likely going to extend Mark Andrews. You need Mark Andrews if you're the Dallas Cowboys, because you need a tight end. You let your tight end walk and go to the Texans. You need to replace him. Luckily for you, this would be a better replacement than what you had. So you get Mark Andrews. I think you can make a trade and get some draft picks right now. I also think you could throw in a receiver, even though I don't really think it's necessary to get a receiver. I do believe the Ravens would throw in Rashad Bateman or one of those other. Now, I don't think they throw in Zay Flowers. I just don't think they do that. I don't even think that they would request Zay Flowers, because even though Zay next to I don't think they get Zay Flowers, because I don't think that they would want to pay Zay. The reason I don't see the Cowboys going for receivers, because I don't see the Cowboys wanting to pay Zay or Rashad Bateman, and they already paying receivers. But I could see them wanting to go after I think they would try to throw Kyle Hamilton in the trade, but I don't think the Ravens would trade Kyle Hamilton. I think what the Dallas would ultimately try to get is Marlon Humphreys, which I don't think that the Ravens would mind trading Marlon Humphreys, to be honest with you. I think they go after Mark Andrews, who is more of a need than a receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. I think they would try to get Justice Hill, and I think if they tried, the Ravens would put him in a deal. But I just don't know if the Cowboys know how good Justice Hill is. Plus, I don't think they would use him the way that the Ravens would use him, which would fuck Justice Hill up, because they don't have a Derrick Henry to run in front of Justice Hill. But I think draft picks, Mark Andrews, what's real weird is before Brandon Stevens just showed his ass this year, you could have threw him in a trade possibly. Can't now because everybody knows he's not a good cornerback, but I do think the Ravens could put together a package. You throw in a first pick, a second round pick, and a future pick, you could get Micah Parsons, bro. They done traded great players for less. You could trade. The Ravens, to me, should be big game hunting this offseason. They should not be trying to, and after you get that big fish, then you can fill in the rest of your roster with other players. But to me, right now, if I'm the Ravens, it's two things I'm going for in this offseason. I'm either going for a top-tier pass rusher, so I'm doing everything in my power to try to trade for I don't want a Joey Bosa. That nigga is always hurt. And while Joey Bosa is a better pure pass rusher than anything the Ravens have right now, is he going to be on the field? Now, I will be happy with a Khalil Mack. I think Khalil Mack will be a great signing for the Ravens. However, that also is not what you should be hunting. To me, the Ravens should be big game hunting one of these elite pass rushers. Even Trey Hendrickson, you should be hunting. You should be hunting one of them big pass rushers that could legitimately turn your team, your defense, from a good defense to a legitimate, daunting defense. That should be what you're hunting. Or a top-tier receiver. More to me, though, I will continue to say this, a pass rusher. The other things that I think the Ravens need to fix going into this offseason, I think you need to go ahead and extend Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry should more than likely retire a Baltimore Raven. You should go ahead and extend Lamar Jackson so you can leave cap space. But more importantly to me, you should be trading away Mark Andrews. I honest to God, do not understand why Mark Andrews is even in the position to make those mistakes in that playoff game, because I was one of the people who said from the beginning that nigga he should not be on this team at the trade deadline, because you have his replacement already. I made show after show talking about, and this is not me in just in the moment. Far before we got to the playoffs, I made a video saying Isaiah Likely he is so far and away the better player. I don't understand why Mark Andrews is still here. The two tight end set is foolish to run, in my opinion, for the simple reason you could replace that nigga with a faster receiver and add speed to the field. Isaiah Likely can do everything Andrews can do. Andrews cannot do everything Isaiah Likely can do. And it ain't just an age thing. It's an athletic standpoint thing also. Isaiah Likely reminds you of a Julio Jones type of player, except for he run tight end. Like, I never understood for the past, since Isaiah Likely showed you how great he was, I have not understood why they did not trade Mark Andrews. But now all three, and then all three of your tight ends on the last year of their deals. This is why I hate one of the things that the Ravens do. I do not like that they force some players to play out the entirety of their contracts before they re-up. Isaiah Likely showed you last year that he could be your number one receiver. Your number one tight end. For some reason, you kept making him share snaps with Mark Andrews. I truly, honest to God, don't understand why you would have Mark Andrews play these type of snaps if you were not going to trade this nigga away. I really don't understand it. And then you let his value get hit in the playoffs, which I really don't even think that really killed his value that much, to be honest with you. I still think it's tons of teams out there that are tight end needy that will trade for Mark Andrews. You just ain't getting no first or second for him probably. You probably get a third for him or probably a low tier second. But to me, the move is to package that nigga up in order to bring over a top tier player, not to trade him by himself. Trading him by himself, you won't get his ultimate value. You package him up in a deal to try to get a top tier player. It's no way that's how you get more value than what you would initially get for him. Also, for the people who say, you know, it's impossible to trade for players like Micah Parsons and shit like that. No, it is not. This Cowboys team is not a Super Bowl team. Jerry Jones can't. It's no way. See, this is just the reality. When GMs or when these billionaires are paying these players and they are nowhere near winning, Micah Parsons ain't putting asses in seats for a losing organization because he a defensive player, not a quarterback. If you're a bad team but you have a great quarterback, you could probably still put asses in seats because people come to see offense. Niggas is not coming to see Micah Parsons play a whole bunch of snaps and get 2-3 sacks. I'm sorry. He is more expendable than what a Dak would be for the Dallas Cowboys, even though he is better at his position than Dak is at his. That's just the nature of the beast. Micah Parsons is expendable. End of story. The reason that a nigga like TJ Watt haven't been expendable is because the Steelers are a good team. That's why I say if the Cleveland Browns are smart, they would just go ahead and trade away Myles Garrett. It's no reason in keeping a player that caliber who does not want to be there. You're not a Super Bowl contending team. You can get so much more for this nigga right now than what you will probably get if you try to hold on to him for a year or two. I'm just saying. I don't even understand the concept of, no, I'm not letting you leave even though we not good enough. I'm not letting you leave. I'm going to stall you out. You just going to have to be good for a sorry team. Like, what? I don't get it. He's still going to be a legendary, well, if he goes somewhere else and wins Super Bowls. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if Saquon put together 4,000 season years with the Eagles, he don't even got to win another Super Bowl. He is officially going to retire an Eagle. I'm just telling you right now, that's what's going to happen. Like, Peyton Manning is still an Indianapolis Colt, but if he hadn't won 2 or 3 Super Bowls with the Broncos, everything he did in Indy would be null and void. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you what would have happened. I saw a troll the other day. The shit this nigga was saying, boy. The shit this nigga was saying. He was arguing with somebody and somebody flipped his argument on him and he just got heated and more heated by the second. I'm like, bruh, it's amazing the shit, the stupidity that exists on Twitter. It really is. But next for the Ravens, I talked about the re-signing of those players, but I talked about more importantly trading away Mark Andrews. And I made the point that this is not me just, speaking in the moment type of thing. This is something that, and plus you help your cap by re-signing Isaiah Likely, trading away Mark Andrews. I don't know what you do with Charlie Kolar. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't care. He's not a big part of the offense, so I would rather re-sign Nelson Aguilar than I really care too much about Charlie Kolar. I understand, and like some people hate Nelson Aguilar, but Nelson Aguilar has not been the fiend that he was in Philly, I guess. That to me, when you watch Mark Andrews, you got a lot of appreciation for a lot of other niggas, because a lot of niggas on this team ain't got the expectations that Mark Andrews have, and the fact that Mark Andrews can just come up short on those expectations time and time again, but he still is praised as if he doesn't. It's very hard for me to go at other players. The only other nigga who I hold is accountable as Mark Andrews, or at least that I have, is Rashad Bateman. But I want to make something very clear. I have at no point in time actually went at Rashad Bateman. I used to talk about how he never stayed healthy. How at this point, I don't understand what you do for a player who cannot stay healthy, because you're not helping Lamar Jackson with a player who cannot stay healthy. That's completely different than what I done said about, well, no, because when he played, he was bad too. You look at what he was this year. You look at what this nigga did in big clutch moments for the Ravens. It took Rashad Bateman 1 year of staying healthy to come up big in clutch moments, and Mark Andrews still can't do it. This is why I was so annoyed last year going into that playoff game against the Chiefs. I said it. I don't understand why they are starting Mark Andrews. They don't need this nigga. I said it time and time again, and they still play. This is my whole thing. If you sit down and you watch all of the games, like watch the games, not the stats, of Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely's, like watch 6 of his best games and watch 6 of Isaiah's best games, 6 of Mark's best games. To me, the tape is very clear that Isaiah Likely is the better tight end. You know, I done said it multiple times. Mark's not trash. Mark could still be traded for a good package. But Mark is not Isaiah Likely, yo. Mark at his best has never looked like what Isaiah Likely is at his best. That's my whole thing. Mark Andrews could probably is going to be a Hall of Fame tight end one day if his career continued to go the way it's going. Isaiah Likely looked like a Hall of Fame level player already. He just need the opportunity so he can for sure get himself in there. Like he already looked like he a Gronk. I'm gonna be honest. If you give Patrick Mahomes Isaiah Likely right now, I think Mahomes got 4 more Super Bowls in him. That's how good I think Isaiah Likely is, which is why I continue to get frustrated that he has to take a backseat to Mark Andrews, which is why I said last year, it is time to just trade Mark Andrews, because as long as you keep Andrews, you will never give Isaiah Likely his proper, the proper opportunity to spread his wings and become a great player. It just is what it is, because Andrews, if he's out there, Lamar is going to throw it to him. It just is what it is. And now it's coming to a business standpoint where you just don't need the nigga no more. I mean, it's as simple as that. Now, some people probably wanted me to talk about John Harbaugh. But I've been very adamant that I don't think John Harbaugh is a problem. Is he perfect? No. But John Harbaugh is a great head coach. It's why it's weird when niggas be like, fire Mike Tomlin. My nigga, you could do a lot worse. I was thinking about this the other day. Mike Tomlin basically gives you 9 wins above replacement as a coach. As a coach, he give you, 7 to 9 wins a season just because how great he is as a coach. And the reason I say that is Mike Tomlin hasn't always had some of the great players that he got right now. He'd have had different players throughout generations, but he ain't never been under 500. So clearly, like, I'm not telling, my problem with the Steelers is that the goal for a couple years was we happy we ain't we above 500. That should not be the goal. But in saying that, the fact that you have a head coach that clearly gives you that many wins above replacement in baseball terms, that's big. To me, the problem with the Steelers is the same problem with the Steelers. They don't have a quarterback. You play in the AFC North with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. You don't have a quarterback. It's as simple as that. You have a good defense, and I don't care how great TJ is. At the end of the day, you are going to lose to the Lamars, the Burrows, the Mahomes, the Allens, because you don't have it. It's simple as that. When the Steelers was beating everybody else, because they had a quarterback. It ain't because their defense was just great. It's because they had a quarterback also. They had a great offense, the 3 Bs. They don't have that now. It's as simple as that. And I think the culture kind of shaky with these offensive weapons over here in Pittsburgh. I don't know what's going on with these receivers in Pittsburgh. These niggas just do not like being there, but it's a quarterback problem. Not a Mike Tomlin problem, but we'll get to that when we get to the Steelers. So with that being said, I appreciate you for joining me on the first Sunday without football. Join me next week. This was recorded on Sunday. Now, if it's uploaded on Sunday or Monday, who knows? But it was recorded on Sunday. With that being said, I appreciate you for joining me. Tell somebody you fuck with and tell somebody you love them. You could be anything in the world. So choose to be kind to somebody today. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Help the kid grow. I fuck with you. I love you. Saying out.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like I just got spat on. I feel like they just pulled out the whole goddamn cup on me. Man, I'm stressed out. P&B, every day we live. Hey, every day Uso is stressing the
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, you know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy, scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber, you out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.